And welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the third level in Spiral Dynamics, Stage Red. So once more, the pendulum has gone from one end to the next. Purple was collective, and now with red motivation has alternated away from collective back to individual. So at this stage, now you develop a sense of independence from the tribe. And now you believe, what's the point of sacrificing for the tribe, if at some point or another, some tougher tribe will come along and wipe us all out? Red no longer views spiritual deities and tribal traditions as sacred, but rather views them as mechanisms that he can use to exploit others around him for his own personal gain. See, Red now is very egocentric and power hungry, and now thinks, okay, shit, I've had enough of being subordinate to the tribe, it means nothing. What's important is me centralizing all power for myself and making all these savage people and all the other tribes in the area quit fighting with each other once and for all. And this will all happen under my rule. I'll rally my closest friends together, take all the weapons, and seize control over resources, and anyone from my tribe or any other tribe who dare be in our way will be tortured and killed. And yes, Red is very brutal and selfish, but what its main objective was back in early history, and even still in underdeveloped parts of the world nowadays, was unifying all tribes and other regions under one banner by force. It was a necessary evil that had to be done for the greater good, despite it getting out of hand and going too far at times. And this is the point in history that brought about the rise of empires, through dictatorships and absolute monarchies and mass expansion into conquering territories, which took place as far back as 2686 BCE. With the rise of ancient Egypt and the Assyrian Empire in the 24th century BCE, and others that came shortly after, Babylon, Greece, Rome, Persia, China, Ottoman, just to name a few. With their towering figures being people like Alexander the Great, Caligula, Mehmed II, Ivan the Terrible. But as far back as red power struggles go, there are plenty of red tyrants that have plagued the 20th and 21st centuries, from Hitler to Joseph Stalin, to the Kim Dynasty, to Pol Pot, Chairman Mao, Chiang Kai-shek, Fidel Castro, Saddam Hussein, and Idi Amin. The form of government under red is a dictatorship or absolute monarchy. But red doesn't just manifest in dictatorships and government, but also terrorist groups like militia factions like ISIS, Hamas, the Taliban, along with paramilitary groups that plague parts of Africa and South America. There are examples of organized crime in the criminal underworld like gangs in various countries. Ultimately, the hierarchy in an organization under red goes as follows: a pyramid-like structure with a big scary boss at the top with a few lieutenants and other advisory men below him to enforce the boss's agenda. And basically every other rank below the lieutenants are all the henchmen that have to put up with all the bullshit from above. But although they might not like being on bottom, they do it willingly, not out of fear, but out of respect for the boss, in the hope that one day it will be the boss. You see these types of hierarchies in gangs, terrorist groups, cults, and the mafia. Stage Red thinks that whatever problems it's facing are not the fault of its own judgment, but rather the fault of some other person or external force. Like, it's the government's fault, it's my family's fault, it's my supervisor's fault, it's the media's fault. Red doesn't think too far into the future, therefore it can't do things like save money for a rainy day or do any kind of preventative maintenance work, like clean the house, mow the lawns, or do the dishes. It would rather just deal with the consequences when they arise. Some examples of red are heavy metal, MMA, boxing, a Donald Trump, terrorism, a gladiator combat, Andrew Tate, a dictators, gangs, cult leaders in many cases, torture, prison culture, Genghis Khan, Caligula, and the most corrupt countries in this day and age like Afghanistan, Liberia, Somalia, North Korea, Papua New Guinea, and Russia. All these are manifestations of red behavior. Now, an important thing to note about the red mindset is that it manifests in people who have been the worst victims of poverty and or crime, so they adopt a more ruthless mindset in order to help themselves get by. And you see this, for example, in communities of ethnic minorities who struggle in the cycle of committing crime, to get by because their families never had the generational wealth built up like others who were more fortunate in that sense. So Stage Red, a behaviour in the modern world, is a product of wealth and income inequality, and with the prison system around the world in most countries does a great disservice to young offenders who have had a rough upbringing and puts them on the path to becoming violent full-time criminals. Now, the dilemma for Red that helps it move up into the next stage, which is Blue, are two things. The first is realizing that toughness and brute force is in most cases not the most effective way to solve problems. The second is realizing the impact of its own selfish actions have had on its own loved ones and countless other people around him. Now, before we wrap this video up, remember, Red is not bad, but a necessary stage to evolve your way through, and there are some positive aspects to Red, such as standing up to someone bullying you or just having the courage to face your fears. So stay tuned for the next part where we are going to be talking about the next stage, Blue. Thanks for watching.